teacher grabbed an Asian girl, called her a yellow spy, and threw her through a door into the hallway. Back in 5th grade, I had this teacher, Mr. Hayes. He was one of those guys you couldn't help but like. Laid back, quick with a joke, always letting us sneak an extra few minutes at recess if we promised not to tell the principal. He had this warm, gravelly voice that made even boring stuff like fraction sound kind of interesting, but you could tell he carried some heavy stuff from his past. He was a Vietnam vet, and every so often, something would trigger him. A kid dropping a book, a door slamming too loud. He'd hit the floor like a reflex, hands over his head. Then he'd laugh it off, brush the dust from his khakis, and keep teaching. We all knew about it, and it made him seem real, like he wasn't just a teacher, but a person who'd been through something big. I remember one time, during a science lesson about volcanoes, some kid accidentally knocked a whole stack of textbooks off a desk. The crash echoed, and Mr. Hayes dropped so fast you'd think someone fired a gun. We froze, staring, but he just got up, chuckled, and said, "Guess I thought that was Mount Vesuvius erupting." We laughed. He went back to drawing lava flows on the board, and that was that. Those moments were rare, though, and they never felt like a big deal. He was just Mr. Hayes, the cool teacher who let us play dodgeball with a little too much enthusiasm. A couple years after I left his class for middle school, I heard his wife died. Mrs. Hayes was the vice principal, always patrolling the halls with her clipboard, her glasses perched on her nose. She was strict but fair, the kind of person who'd give you detention but also ask how your day was going. Breast cancer hit her out of nowhere, and within a few months, she was gone. It shook the whole school. Mr. Hayes took a short leave, maybe 10 days tops, and then he was back in the classroom. Word around town was the school administrators weren't happy about it. They thought he needed more time, that he was pushing himself too hard. But he insisted he was fine, said teaching was his way of coping. So they let him stay, figuring he knew what he needed. At first, it seemed like he was holding it together. He still cracked jokes, still wrote equations on the board with that squeaky chalk he loved. But over the weeks, things changed. His shirts started looking wrinkled, like he'd pulled them straight from the laundry basket. His tie was always loose, sometimes barely knotted. His beard grew out, scruffy and uneven, and his eyes had this tired, faraway look. Kids in his class said he'd forget what he was teaching mid-sentence, staring out the window, or fumbling with his notes. One girl told me he left the room for 10 minutes during a spelling test and came back acting like nothing happened. Everyone could see he was slipping, but nobody knew what to do about it. Then came the day it all fell apart. It was a regular Tuesday, middle of a math lesson about long division. Mr. Hayes was at the board, marker in hand, when he just stopped, dead silent. He turned, looked at this girl named Emily in the front row, small, quiet, Asian, always had her nose in a book, and something in him snapped. He started yelling, calling her a gook spy, his voice all wrong, like he wasn't even seeing her. Before anyone could react, he grabbed her by the arm, dragged her to the door, and threw her out into the hallway. She stumbled and fell, books scattering, cried her eyes out, but not really hurt, just terrified. The classroom exploded into chaos. Kids were screaming, some bolted for the door, others just sat there, stunned. One boy ran to get the principal. Mr. Hayes dropped to the floor and crawled under his desk, shaking, muttering stuff nobody could make out, something about jungles and ambushes. The principal and a couple teachers rushed in, tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't come out. He just stayed there, curled up, gripping the desk legs like they were keeping him anchored. Eventually, the cops showed up. It took 3 of them to pull him out, and even then, he was kicking and yelling, eyes wild. They didn't arrest him, though. They took him straight to the hospital. The whole school was buzzing about it for weeks. Emily was okay, just shaken up. A few scrapes, nothing serious. Her parents were surprisingly cool about it. They knew about Mr. Hayes' war history, his PTSD, and they didn't want to make things worse for him. They just wanted to make sure Emily was all right and that he got help. The school district